I want to talk about the ProView stuff now because I think it's really important, and it is frustrating for me because I come from an RTS background and Thorin comes from an FPS background where we've always had access to replays or demos or what have you, and it's still very difficult to get these things even, what is this, 12 years after the game of League of Legends has launched. Like, it exists now, but when I was starting out in esports, the website that I would go to, the community website, was literally called wcreplays.com because it was a replay download site for professional matches that took place, so you could learn, right? And we still don't have this feature. And I don't have a problem with paywalling it, frankly, because I think that I want the professional teams and the leagues to make money, so that doesn't bother me at all. But the fact that there is this information asymmetry that occurs because of all these deals. So, for example, like, you have to have a Chinese login on Bilibili or whatever to get access to the Chinese ones. For Korea, I was talking to Papa Smithy the other day, and I'm not sure if this is still true, but it used to be true that you had to have a T1 phone service in order to get the Korean equivalent of ProView, which obviously people outside of Korea can't have. And even then, I think you could only watch it on your phone, which is really fucking annoying. And impossible to make any kind of content out of. You guys don't even have ProView right now. Meanwhile, anyone in the West or like English speaking can sign up to LCS. So in a way, like, coming into an international competition, it's giving you guys an advantage because you can look at all the NA games or Chinese games in the login, whereas they can't watch shit from you guys, right? Like, they can't watch your ProView on me. So to me, it's just, this is, if you want to have a world where everyone is competitive at the international level, having all of this information asymmetry is really difficult for fans to understand the game, content to be made around the game, pro players to learn how to play at the top level. And it's incredibly frustrating. And I, for the life of me, like, just can't understand why Riot can't put together a pro player replay or a pro match replay database that I can watch. And you know what's even funnier? Well, not for you, but like, only the teams at MSI got the replays from MSI. They didn't give them to all of the professional teams in the world. So like,
that's crazy.
That's pretty bullshit.
You can't even watch the replays from MSI to like learn. And so I'm just curious how you deal with this as a pro player, because you either have to go to like op.gg and then download solo queue replays of like Korean players or whatever, Chinese players, as you can. But how do you prepare for opponents, and how much would it help to have access to all these features?
I mean, it definitely sucks for sure. I mean, if you think about it, even about the thing about OPGG, if the client is on a different patch, if you go more than a week before when there's a different patch, you can't even access that. So that's completely crazy, you know? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
It's Chrono Shift or whatever's coming soon, babe. You know, whatever that fucking meme was. Go on, keep going.
But I don't know, there's many times where I just look at the League client. I mean, it's a bit off topic, but I look at the League client and then I look at the Dota 2 client and I'm like, holy shit, if League had the Dota 2 client in it, it would literally be the best thing in the world, because you could practice tool with like other people. You could be practice tool while you're in queue. But right now, it just feels like there's this shitty like Flash player that is trying to boot up something from 2010. You know, it feels like,
that's what it's doing.
Pretty much, yeah.
When you finish a game in 2021 and it just locks your whole mega expensive PC up, you're like, "What is this? It's like malware or something. What the fuck?"
Yeah, you're still stuck at the end of the screen where you're like trying to click skip, waiting for stats, and your computer freezes for like a minute.
And you have to make the decision: do I let it literally do the Windows close program because it's not responding, or do I wait because I know inevitably eventually it'll like unlock the memory and let me actually go to the screen? So do I really want these stats or not? That's the real choice. By the way, if moron fans don't understand, because you know morons in the modern day, Monty, just go like, well, of course he'd lie because he makes money, so that makes it okay. I literally profit if ProView exists. I should argue against replays ever existing, but I fucking want them because it would just make the whole scene of 10 times better, wouldn't it?
I mean, go ahead, sorry.
No, I just, if there's a, I don't understand the motivation behind this. Maybe there's a technical challenge. Obviously, that could be the case because we already know that they
games run
can't
really slowly and they don't know how to make games.
well, they can't.
Limitation.
The replays like can't go from previous patches, but even being able to have it on that patch. But it just seems like Riot really enjoys this information asymmetry for some reason. Like they'll give LEC replays to the LEC casters, and then those LEC casters can go on their streams and watch those replays, but they won't give it to everybody else to make content out of. Right.
By the way, when you give that example, though, that I know I'm not a programmer, but I guarantee that isn't a real thing. I'll tell you why. Because people in Counter-Strike, we used to have the same problem. When they did a fundamental upchange, 1.3 to 1.5 to 1.6 to a new version of 1.6, it used to break all the old demos. Now, in theory, you could just keep an old installation, but you had to have like 6 installations, right? So some wizard, because there's always a tech wizard out there, like the kind of fucking guys who make Chrono Break or whatever, but that Riot just shut down and kneecap, there's always some tech wizard who'll figure it out. And what they tend to do is they'll make a version where it's like there's a fundamental sort of like core of the game which runs it, and then there's sort of just enough of each version, and it'll identify which version the game was on, and it'll boot it up, and you can watch the demo through that. This existed in Counter-Strike in like 2004.
It existed in RTSs as well.
Yeah, the idea it couldn't exist in League of Legends. Like we're doing that thing.
Like let's be clear.
Small indie startup. Like we can't keep giving these billion-dollar companies a break on this shit.
Let's be clear. League of Legends is an RTS. That is what it is by nature. So if it can exist, if a replay can exist in an RTS, it can exist in League of Legends because League of Legends is literally just a modded RTS. That is what Dota is. That's all it is.
I mean, I think that like there was a point in like 2015 or 16 where there was a thing called Skin Spotlights or whatever, and it was this client or no Baron Replays, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and it had the functionality. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm correct. I think it could run from like almost any patch if it was like from that season or whatever. Okay. And I think
I recall that as well.
And then Riot came and said we don't want this anymore. And then the way we access replays now, I think, is we have like a tournament client or whatever with all the patches in the world, like different clients. Yeah, and just we have to drag and drop it over the one that fits the patch that was on. But yeah, I mean, back to the pro view because that was the original question. I mean, it definitely sucks because even for pros, we enjoyed it a lot. Just the fact that we could look at other teams and see maybe there's something that we didn't see or there's something really cool that they're doing that we could implement in our own playstyle would be really nice. But the fact that we never had access to like Chinese or Korean, there's always like this Chinese random stream that you find it is like a pro view of whoever, and that's kind of cool. But you still have to look for it for so long. I feel like it could be a lot easier just to have it on one platform and just look at everything. But definitely hurts.
What I don't understand is like, again, I don't have a problem with the paywalling. Just give me through lolesports.com a way to pay for it. Right? That's all I'm asking for. You know what I mean? Just like, why do I have to have a Chinese login to the site? I assume I have to have a Chinese bank account or something like that in order to pay for it. I believe that's true. And so I just want a way to pay for it. Again, I wholly support ProView. I wholly support monetizing these features. But I think that you have to have some level of way to actually allow people around the world to access everything. And the reverse is true as well. I think that the Chinese and Korean scenes should have a feature to look at the pro views that are easily watch the pro views that are happening in Europe and North America.
I mean, actually, I'm not sure if they have the same problems that we have in accessing them. Maybe they don't, but I'm not sure. But I mean, I can understand for China why it might be hard for us to have access to it because it's maybe under 10 cents when it's in China. But for Korea, as far as I know, it's still Riot Games, and I feel like it should be a lot easier to just have it through LoL Esports. Because why have a platform for global League of Legends if it's not really global? It defeats the purpose in a way. But yeah, I mean, I would wish if it could come like that, even through behind the paywall where we can just see everything, because it just makes the whole scene better. Because not only for pros, but there's like so many up and coming players, like even like, you know, amateurs or noobs or people who are in bronze and they want to like have access to information like this. And that's probably the best source of information they can get, better than like these YouTube tutorials in a way, because it's like real live games and you get to see it through a pro's perspective and they don't get access to it. And that kind of sucks.
It also prevents people from being fans, because if I'm a huge Odoamne fan and I just want to watch your perspective every game, I can't do that, right? I can't even engage in my own fandom of a team or of a player. And you mentioned players, but what about aspiring coaches or analysts as well? You know, there's no way for them to level up their knowledge in an efficient manner. Like, the deck is entirely stacked against them. Like I said, if I want to be a caster in LEC, I don't even have access to the same tools that the LEC casters have, because they get the replays and then they are allowed to stream or make content off of those replays. But if I'm a lower tier caster who wants to learn or show off my knowledge, I can't even make content. Yeah. Like I don't even have access to the tool.
Think of the example you even gave there. Imagine you are an Odoamne fan. The motherfucker plays weak side off his like career. So like you're even like, oh, it's Odoamne being, oh, they've moved the camera away. Like, let's have a look at the minimap.
Exactly.
Oh, he's moving in. I think he's fighting him. It's going red. Oh, bloody go back. Oh, there's a fight in the bot lane. Shit. So you don't even get to see that. I would satisfy, and that's like being my girlfriend from earlier.
It's also junglers, right? Because they're not going to follow junglers around doing PvE. But a lot of that PvE, in terms of the nuance of like leashing camps or the order in which you kill things, it's just lost.
This is not a joke. People like Emily Rand used to actually have to freeze the VOD and look at the fucking minimap and be like trying to do the type, like, is he doing this count? And write down like on pencil on a pad of paper all the jungle pathing, like by hand.
I mean, we do the same. Like sometimes, for example, say I want to prepare for, I don't know, tomorrow I play a certain matchup that I'm confident I will play. And then I see, China or Korea played this exact same matchup in the top lane. And you know how I do research? I go look at the VOD, and then I look at the minimap, and then at the health bars and how the wave is. And I'm like, oh, he probably traded like this. And he probably used this skill and that skill. And I'm literally playing the matchup in my head based off of the minimap and how the HP bar is moving, which is kind of crazy for 2021. It's completely insane that I have to do so much imagination just to see it when it's literally right there. And that's the thing. I feel like it's really hard for even people who want to make like content creators, like people who can make like cool animations or like even like league cinematics, to get into stuff like this. It's literally, you have to go above and beyond and find like a loophole through everything to get in there. And it's a bit sad, because for the level that league is right now and how global and big it is, it's obviously the biggest esport in the world right now, or at least in terms of popularity. The fact that you cannot like fully exploit it to create cool stuff and have access to cool stuff, it's sad.
And let me make a comparison for you guys so you understand some of the tools that are available in traditional sports for this. Well, first off, in esports, in CS, you just have demos, so that problem is solved. Like, it's just solved already. But when it comes to traditional sports, even in traditional sports, you have better tools. So, like in the NFL, if you subscribe to their digital service, you get the like, basically the entire game from like a bird's eye picture of every single play, and you can like switch between all the perspectives and stuff like that. So, you know, you don't have to watch the broadcast where they were focusing on one player or other player. You can literally just watch all of the players every single play, so you can see what everyone's doing at any given point in time. In Formula One, you can watch an entire race from any driver's perspectives with their full comms. You know, it's actually crazy what you can do. And if traditional sports have figured this out, when they have to add more cameras, more very complicated tech to do this, you know, when we have a perfect information system that is a replay file, it just seems wild to me.
Yeah, it should be a lot easier because it's literally, you have everything in a file. Not like, you don't need to build the infrastructure for it. I mean, obviously you need to set up some databases or whatever, but they're obviously not as hard as in traditional sports. And one thing that was cool about ProView when it was there is the fact that you could have like 4 or 5 different screens on at the same time. So you could like watch top, jungle, mid, and even enemy top at the same time, like in exactly the same frame. And that was really cool when it was set up. I mean, hopefully when you get back on stage, hopefully soon, we get all of that back. But still, the problem is still there with Korea and China just being inaccessible.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.